In a single precision strike, Ukraine eliminated one of Russia's most advanced and valuable battlefield surveillance tools. A Ukrainian drone destroyed a state-of-the-art Zaslan radar system, valued at $46 million, reducing it to burning wreckage. But this wasn't an ordinary radar. It was an improvised system that highlighted Russia's increasing desperation. This particular radar was originally designed for naval use, typically mounted on warships. Yet, in a highly unorthodox move, Russia had installed it on a truck and deployed it on land. Why? Because it is rapidly running out of conventional options. Let's examine what makes this radar so rare, how it ended up hundreds of miles from the coast, and what its destruction reveals about the growing vulnerabilities within Russia's war machine. Video footage captured a Ukrainian drone closing in on the radar system mounted on a truck moments before impact. While the explosion itself was not shown, it was strongly suggested that both the radar and its transport vehicle were either significantly damaged or completely destroyed. Though the exact location wasn't officially confirmed, Russian military bloggers identified the system as a Zaslan and supported claims that it had been successfully struck by Ukrainian forces. According to Ukraine's military Telegram account, the strike occurred in Russia's Kursk region, a location previously targeted by successful Ukrainian operations. The drone unit known as Raid 413, part of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, reported that this marked their first encounter with such a radar, underscoring the uniqueness of the target. The Zaslan system hit in this strike was never intended for ground use. It's a sophisticated naval radar designed for deployment on warships. Originally developed for vessels in the Black Sea Fleet, this radar is capable of tracking surface ships, low-flying aircraft, and even submarine periscopes under certain conditions. It offers 360-degree surveillance, acting as the eyes of a ship to detect threats in every direction across the maritime theater. Few public details exist about the system. The name Zaslan MF 7 is also associated with an older airborne radar variant dating back to the late 1980s, developed during the Soviet era. The aircraft version of the Zaslan radar features advanced target acquisition capabilities, detecting objects over 125 miles away, including targets with radar cross-sections as small as 172 square feet. This made it well-suited for identifying larger aircraft and surface threats, even in its early versions. However, the radar destroyed by Ukraine was a modernized naval version, the Zaslan MF. This version operates in the S-band frequency, 2.0 to 4.0 GHz, a sweet spot that balances resolution and weather resistance, ideal for naval operations in the often challenging Black Sea environment. It was originally developed to equip small Russian corvettes with capabilities typically found on larger warships. The Zaslan MF boasts impressive technical specs. It can detect aerial targets at ranges of up to 185 miles, approximately the distance from Sevastopol to Odessa, giving operators nearly 15 minutes of warning against incoming aircraft. For surface targets, its range is about 30 miles, sufficient to detect naval drones or boats before they can launch an attack. More importantly, the radar can track up to 100 targets simultaneously. This multi-target tracking is crucial in modern warfare, where simultaneous missile, drone, and decoy attacks are designed to overwhelm defenses. Reports from military analysts suggest the version hit in May was an upgraded variant capable of tracking 200 targets, thanks to advanced software and computing enhancements. Additionally, the Zaslan MF provides three-dimensional tracking, offering altitude data in addition to range and bearing. This is critical for differentiating between low-flying missiles and high-altitude aircraft, ensuring defense systems can respond accurately. On a ship, the radar integrates with weapons, fire control systems, and command centers. Its high placement on the superstructure gives it maximum range, and its operation relies on shipboard power and cooling systems. So why was this naval radar deployed on a truck? One theory is that it was simply being transported to a ship. However, that's unlikely. Russia has an established logistics network to transport such systems safely to Crimea or other naval hubs, far from the front lines. Another more plausible theory is that Russia was using the radar to bolster coastal surveillance after losing numerous vessels and shipborne radars in the Black Sea. Since the full-scale invasion, Russia has lost many of its naval assets to Ukrainian missiles and drone strikes. As Ukraine pushed the Russian fleet away from its shores, Russia's radar coverage became increasingly fragmented, yet its need for early warning systems has only grown. Deploying a powerful radar on land, even without its usual naval integration, could still offer useful surveillance for Russia's coastal defense. While it wouldn't have the offensive capabilities of a warship, it could support Russia's early warning infrastructure against Ukrainian aerial attacks. Alternatively, the radar may have been repurposed entirely for land use. If the system was indeed destroyed in the Kursk region, far from the Black Sea, it indicates a shift toward using naval equipment to fill gaps in ground-based radar networks which have suffered heavy losses. Ukraine has repeatedly targeted Russian air defense radars across the front and behind the lines, leaving Russia increasingly reliant on unconventional solutions. But adapting a naval radar for land use is not simple. The Zaslan was designed with assumptions about shipboard power and cooling, features that do not translate well to truck-mounted operation. For instance, its seawater-based cooling system would need to be entirely re-engineered for air cooling. Its software is tuned for detecting threats in a maritime environment and may perform poorly against ground-based or airborne threats over land. Moreover, ships provide stable platforms for radars, equipped with shock absorbers and stabilizers to manage ocean motion. Mounting such a radar on a truck introduces vibration, instability, and terrain-related movement that can severely degrade performance and reliability. To function effectively, the truck would have to remain stationary and be placed relatively close to the front lines, making it highly vulnerable to detection and attack. Despite its long detection range, the radar doesn't include any weapon system of its own. Unlike integrated air defense platforms such as the S-400 or Pantsir, this system would need to relay targeting data to separate launchers, limiting its operational usefulness. Its deployment on land underscores the Russian military's growing logistical and strategic strain. This improvisation is perhaps the most revealing detail of all. Modern militaries plan for losses and maintain equipment reserves. Russia's decision to repurpose naval radars for ground use suggests a significant miscalculation, either underestimating wartime attrition or overestimating its industrial ability to replace lost systems. Ukraine's strike on this unconventional radar setup demonstrates the continued evolution of its capabilities. Detecting and eliminating a mobile, repurposed naval radar deep in Russian territory speaks to the strength of Ukraine's intelligence and precision strike capacity. This operation is part of a broader campaign. Over the past 6 months, Ukraine has systematically dismantled parts of Russia's radar network. It has destroyed a range of critical systems, including Podlet, Nebo SV, Kasta 2E2, Imbir, Nebo M, and Garmin radars, many located deep inside Crimea or Russian territory. These strikes are increasingly being compared to NATO-style suppression missions, not just in execution but in their strategic effect. Two key implications stand out. First, these operations prove Ukraine's ability to penetrate deep into Russian-controlled areas and strike strategic assets. Second, they expose gaps in Russia's anti-air and electronic warfare coverage, showing that even high-value radars can be destroyed with relative impunity. Each radar lost weakens the overlapping web of Russia's air defenses. As Ukraine picks off individual nodes, remaining systems must work harder, increase emissions, and become more vulnerable to detection and attack. The cumulative effect, reduced situational awareness, weakened coordination, and ultimately a more fragile air defense posture. That brings us to a vital point in Ukraine's overall strategy, targeting the sensors, not just the launchers. Taking out an S-400 missile battery grabs headlines, but eliminating the radars that guide them is far more disruptive. Without radar, a missile system becomes a blind and impotent asset. This strategy helps explain how Ukraine has held its ground against a numerically superior adversary. While Russia may outgun Ukraine on paper, the loss of key surveillance systems leaves it increasingly blind, unable to use its firepower effectively, and that imbalance, carefully exploited, continues to tilt the strategic landscape.